How many of you have heard of Asian carp? How about the flying carp? These fish wreak havoc on native ecosystems in the United States. Asian carp originate in southern China, northeastern Russia, and even Vietnam. Commercial fishermen brought these fish over in the 1970s to decimate algae population in their fish ponds. These ponds flooded and the fish escaped and started to reproduce rapidly. In the past decade, the damage has been obvious and something needs to happen to keep these fish at bay. Let's begin by learning what an Asian carp is and what makes them so destructive to the ecosystem. So what are Asian carp? There are 4 types of carp that are referred to as Asian carp. The first is bighead carp. They eat microorganisms in the water and can grow up to 100 pounds and 4 feet in length. Silver carp are also 4 feet in length and 70 to 100 pounds. These fish are referred to as flying carp. When they are startled by vibrations in the water, they soar out of the water up to 4 feet in the air. They also eat microorganisms. Third is black carp. They can grow 150 pounds or more, 5 feet in length, and they eat mollusks, clams, and snails that native fish and wildlife also eat. The fourth is grass carp. They eat vegetation. This leads to erosion, destroys habitat and spawning areas, depletes oxygen levels that the plants give off, and affects waterfowl habitat. They can grow 5 feet in length and up to 150 pounds. Now that you know what Asian carp are and how they function, let's talk about how they affect the ecosystem. So why are Asian carp so destructive? First, silver and bighead carp, they have teeth called pharyngeal teeth. They are connected to their gill arches and are like filters. They filter out microorganisms in the water. This kills the ecosystem from the bottom up. It kills plankton in the water that fish eat, and then the bigger fish eat the smaller fish. They die because of lack of food, so it just destroys it from the bottom up. Second, the black carp, they have teeth that are similar to human molars. They use these to crush shells and eat what is inside. This decimates the population of the clams, mollusks, and snails, and then the native wildlife such as fish and otters that feed on these snails and such are affected because they don't have anything to eat. Third, the grass carp, they have serrated teeth. They use these for cutting vegetation. This ruins habitat for waterfowl, fish, and other aquatic creatures. It destroys breeding area for fish and waterfowl also. This promotes erosion, which has a negative effect on the ecosystem because there's no vegetation to hold the earth down and the water just takes the soil away. Now that we have focused on how Asian carp are destructive to the ecosystem, let us talk about what needs to happen to help slow their spread. Barriers are an option to help stop them from going from one body of water to another. Examples of barriers are dams or screens to stop fish from moving upstream. The second is electrical barriers. These send electrical currents through the water that fish cannot pass through. The third is acoustic bubbles. This is bubbles with sound frequencies in them that the fish don't like, so it deters the fish from passing that point. The third, strobe lights, it deters the fish just like it would a human, but it's only effective at night most of the time. It is also important to be aware if you're fishing or boating or whatever, and follow the laws. Never transport fish from one body of water to another. And always drain, clean, and just take care of your bilge pump, your motor, your gear, and your bait wells. This will help prevent transporting fish from one body of water to another and slow their spread. It is also good to be educated. Know what an Asian carp looks like. Know what to do if you're in the situation where you're with an Asian carp and how to dispose of it or how to keep it in the water that it's in and make it so it doesn't spread from one body of water to another. Now that you have learned the effects and damage of Asian carp that they have on the ecosystem, I hope that something can be done to stop these monsters from destroying our precious U.S. waterways. In conclusion, Asian carp are an invasive species that feed from the bottom of the food chain and destroy everything from there on up. Some species of Asian carp even eat native vegetation and mollusks, which in turn affect native fish and wildlife. There's things that we need to do to help prevent the spread of these fish. These things include physical barriers such as dams, screens, acoustic bubbles, strobe lights, and electrical barriers. These all deter the fish from traveling one way or the other. It is important to be knowledgeable about these fish and help prevent them and keep them at bay. We need to keep these fish out of certain waterways so that they do not destroy the U.S.'s precious ecosystems.